Alright, what's going on YouTube? It's me, Tech Monsters, and yes, I know this video is, what, 2, 3 days after the beta ended, and I said I'd get my video out right after the beta ended, but kind of was tired, had other things to do, and I wanted to make sure this video was in perfect condition when I did it. I was not sounding like I'm half asleep or anything, but I feel like now I have like time and like the willpower to do this because this is like a big video for me. And yeah, I mean, I put a lot of work into this, so I hope you guys enjoy. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. And this video is more directed towards Infinity Ward, especially the devs there. Just like my thoughts on the beta, like sharing what I feel like the community wants. And yeah, I feel like I can speak well for everyone. I was pretty much a, what do you call it? A casual for most of my time playing Call of Duty until now. So I understand through a casual perspective compared to people saying, oh, these content creators only make up like 1% of the COD community, but I mean, I guess I can talk through like through your guys' eyes. I don't know. Let's just begin. So the first topic is, yes, the classic minimap. When classic minimap, what would happen is when you would shoot your gun on the map. Yeah, if you're on the map, you shoot your gun. It'd pop up on the minimap. Your dot would pop up there, and so people can go and push you and stuff. If you had a suppressor, that suppressed it so you wouldn't see it on the minimap, but also suppressors always came at the cost of damage compared to like in like what is it, Warzone with the Car 98. You can use the I think the monolithic suppressor, and that actually increases bullet velocity, but originally it always hurt your damage. So I'm going to talk about it through both perspectives. So the classic minimap is an advantage for rushers because rushers get to keep pushing enemies and offers more combat in the game, which we all want. Problem Modern Warfare 2019 was how slow it was. I mean, that was due to the maps, but combat was pretty slow unless you found like a good place to just like sit and camp, which I can encourage camping. For campers, they get to know where their enemies are, and instead of listening, this encourages them to engage more, or they can move somewhere else. So being able to see on the mini map like where someone is, that will also like make sure if they don't want to get into the combat, they can go move somewhere else. But they're not like just because they're playing that playstyle doesn't mean that they're like hindering rushers because rushers will still find other people rushing. So right also in the beta, especially like any game that doesn't have classic media map, like I think Modern Warfare 2019 definitely didn't. Suppressors are useless right now. With suppressors, people can stay off the map, which is the benefit to campers because then they can hide more. This encourages them, it kind of does encourage them to hide, but it also lets them get used to the game. So like this can help them set them up for rushing because now they're not worried about what is it like pushing and being seen on the mini map and have someone completely like another person completely from out of nowhere just come and kill them. Instead, this kind of encourages them to move and like like push other people, and this can hopefully set them up to be rushers instead of having to be scared of like listening where to the gunshot sounds are, which is what the devs want us to do now is listen where gunshots are from. But these campers who could be new to the game too, who were like got brought in from Warzone, they could be new to this, so they wouldn't know what it was like, or they don't understand like the benefits of like a suppressor and how like your hearing can be like how they're overusing their hearing. They're being encouraged to do this, and this is not letting them get used to like what the Call of Duty culture is like. And now, on to the next topic. Skill-based matchmaking is the biggest L I've ever seen. It didn't make sense to me when we still got like things like ranked in Cold War and Vanguard. But yeah, I believe in casuals. Do not quote me, but I believe in casuals that what is it? Skill based matchmaking was still in casuals, yet we had a ranked mode, and the ranked mode was kind of scuffed on that. So I hopefully in Modern Warfare 2 we get a better ranked mode. But by theory, it sounds like a good idea. You're going to be able to not cause people from like I guess having overpowered people and like weak people all in one lobby. But in practice, it's terrible because it actually causes the lobbiers to be sweatier. I was not experiencing skill based matchmaking early in the beta, but when I played it more and more, I feel like I had to sweat more. I had to like bounce or like bunny hopping around on like 360ing all this, and I'm just like trying to be so aware of my surroundings because first of all the camping problem, second of all because anyone who was also rushing with the mindset that they gotta find people quickly and stuff. They're like sweating too, and it just wasn't fun. And this is something that people might not realize, but with skill based matchmaking, there is no such thing as an easy lobby since they all are around the same level. Because you're going to have the same KD with someone else, so technically, it's not. There's no such thing as an easy lobby. You might all be bad, but in your eyes, you're all good. In a good lobby, you all might be sweats, but like you understand what I'm like talking about. Hopefully, but like your big disadvantages with skill based matchmaking is you're winning or losing it slash the KD differences that occur when you win or lose a game, like how many games you win in a row or how many games you lose, and how well your KD changes over time. Winning causes the player to get in harder lobbies, which make it unfun. Losing makes them to get into easier lobbies, which by theory would be it is fun for them because now they're like completely destroying the other people, but the other players it's not fun for them because they're getting completely wrecked by someone who's technically a higher skill level, but since they lost more games and their KD's gone down, yet they still have experience, they're being thrown into these lower tier lobbies. I'm not against a protected bracket. I feel like that's a great way to introduce people to a game. I mean, I could see some downsides with it because if everyone's camping, then they're not gonna like get used to like rushing and stuff. I mean, I know Call of Duty's kind of straying away from rushing, but like that's always been Call of Duty's identity was rushing. It used to literally get bullied for camping. I'm not saying we should bully people for camping anymore. We shouldn't. It's just we need to encourage them to move, and I feel like skill based matchmaking is not the right way to encourage people to play the game. Next topic, it's a controversial one. Dead silence as a perk. Dead silence is a hot topic in the community. Some people, it sounds like the general, for content creators at least, it feels like they want dead silence so they can push more. And in most games, it was a perk that prevented you from being heard. That's basically what dead silence has always done. Now that dead silence currently acts like a ninja. I'm sorry, I messed it up. Currently, the dead silence in the Modern Warfare 2 beta, I believe people said it act like a ninja, which reduces footstep audio by a ton, which would work well as a perk, in my opinion, because you're not having overpowerness of dead silence, but you're still gonna like be able to rush without being heard from like 15 miles away. I know that I'm obviously exaggerating, but I mean, audio is bad right now, and they did say they'll change it, which is good, but. Dead Silence works better as a perk because it helps rushers, obviously. But if we go back to what I said about like the classic minimap and suppressors, these campers will start transitioning out of camping and become more of a rusher, and they'll run Dead Silence as a perk. Or if we had Ninja, they'll run Ninja as a perk because they would, understand the consequences of like they understand the consequences of a rusher when you can hear them from far away, so they would like to reduce their volume. The next perk I'm talking about is a perk I absolutely hate. I don't understand why it came back. It's absolutely ridiculous, but I hate Last Stand. For people going for clips like me, it can be demoralizing hitting a clip, but one person has Last Stand, which ruins the clip. So like you can get a 5 on, but the last person you could say. You one-shot them, but they end up going down. So obviously from a clip perspective, this is not a good idea, but in general, it's just annoying having to full kill someone, and it can be overpowered in objective-based games like SND. I saw a clip from Bottom Warzone that he got shot, and he basically had a second life. He revived himself. He got back up, and he got shot again, which he should have been dead, but since he was able to have another life, 2 extra lives, which was even more overpowered, it ruined everything, basically. Next perk is Ghost. Ghost, I don't know how Ghost really worked in Modern Warfare 2's beta, but Ghost in general should just only work when you're moving. Benefits for rushers include, they can run around unseen from enemy UAVs. And, with Ghost, they can run around more. They're encouraged to run around more. For rushers, it seems like... or not rushers. for campers, it seems like a disadvantage, but actually, when moving on from spot to spot, they have less to worry about. And since they're moving from spot to spot, they might get into gunfights, and this is further encouraging them to become rushers instead of being campers. Another thing, I mean, I feel like it doesn't need much explaining, but the time to kill in this game is horrendous. It is too fast. You literally die in 2 bullets, and it needs to be adjusted because you could be shot in the back, and you could try to like turn around real quick, but you can't because literally right when you're like thinking about turning around, you literally die. You had no chance to fight back or no chance to get to cover or anything. The next thing is the perk system. Many people ask why. Why was the perk system changed? I don't understand either. It's not popular opinion right now, but here's my thoughts. It either remove it or, in my opinion, this is what they should do. They allow 3 base perks, then allow for 2 more perks to earn. Think about specialists. I know it's in Modern Warfare 2019 where you could get more perks by getting kills. It's kind of like a kill streak thing, but when you died, you lost all those perks. It's just I'm either seeing either remove it or you just kind of like improve it because right now you can just get at the end of the beta they allowed it for when you can unlock those the 3rd and 4th perk faster, but then people were asking the topic like why even have the perk system if you're trying to it's a whole thing. Now this is kind of more personal, but I mean I feel like I'm talking for the sniping community themselves. It is too slow. The sniping is too slow, but I don't have too much to worry about. I don't feel like many of us have much to worry about. With ADS attachments, they will hopefully be good, hopefully improve the ADS speed. And my opinion is that they should do what Cold War did, where there was no barrel that affected ADS, because in Modern Warfare 2019, you had an ADS barrel, but your bullet velocity was decreased. Plus, a Tiger Team barrel worked really well in Cold War. And I just really, that was kind of like the meta, unless you had the Z or G, which you should probably use the rapid fire barrel just so you can shoot faster. I mean, we all know how slow that gun was, especially if you're a sniper. It's hard to hit clips with that. It kind of included in sniping, but the next thing is the guns that we can't level up was a big L that happened. Some guns you couldn't even level up, which means we don't know how good they will be. So when the game releases, they can just be overpowered off rip. I know there's like leaks that the 725 is back in the game and stuff. The 725 is overpowered in Modern Warfare 2019. Do we really want the guns to just be overpowered off rip? If we had chance to use some of the guns that we couldn't level up, like the Signal 50, I know there's some other guns, but like in my head, the Signal 50, we didn't know if if it had any ADS attachments, how good it was going to be with attachments. We only had the base version. I know there's like I think the MP5's like assault rifle version you couldn't even use, except with a glitch that I think got patched or whatever, which is how you even got the MP5 in the first place. But you can't even use that, so we don't even know if you can how good that gun will be when the game fully releases. And yeah, it was just upsetting in the sniping community since we had to use the slowest build. Now I'm going to focus solely on camping for this next topic, and camping's encouraged too much. I'm not saying it's encouraged as much as it was in Modern Warfare 2019. The maps flow better. The maps really just did it camping away, but also at the same time camping's still there. Here's what I'm suggesting. If we take the points above of Classic Minimap, Dead Silence, and Ghost, I feel like it would help encourage the campers to move, and these 3 things could be balanced. These 3 things would balance rushers and campers. I don't know how. I feel like I would have to go too much in depth, but I'm just saying we add back Classic Minimap, Dead Silence, and Ghost. I feel like it balance well with the rushers and campers. I don't even understand why I was removed from the game in the first place, but if we add those 3 back, I feel like we can get better. It'd get better for both rushers and campers. The audio, it is too loud. They did say they were adjusting it, though. It's just, I don't want to hear someone from, like, all the way across the country, bro. It wasn't that bad, obviously. It's just, that was part of the reason people couldn't push, or you couldn't rush. It did get adjusted. Yeah, it did get adjusted in the beta, but people were also still camping because they could hear everything. Because like, why would you push someone when you could hear their every move? Now, this is another topic. I'm not going to talk about Warzone since I really didn't, because I didn't play it, and obviously there's mixed feelings on it. I feel like most people actually doesn't really mixed feelings. People just don't want it. But AI, you got to get rid of it. I feel like AI makes it seem like the game's desperate for action. It was only an invasion, but like I'm feeling like what is it? In Fortnite, for example, there are actual bots that are actual players now. Like they'll be disguised as players, and it's just kind of like it's kind of showing that the game's died. Like you're kind of saying that Call of Duty is dead. And anyways, the AI don't help, and like in Invasion, it is annoying killing five of them rather than actual players. So you think you're going to get more combat, but how many of them are actual players? Now I'm going to talk about Invasion. I only did play one game of both Ground War and Invasion, so I don't have too much to back up from what I'm saying. But like, I feel like playing the reason I played it, I could have played Ground War more, but the reason I played Invasion once and I just didn't like it was because it's slow and not fun, even though they described it as a ground war shipment, but it feels too slow in comparison to the actual ground war that's in the game. And yeah, AI are just annoying to deal with. I don't. It doesn't feel like it's helping. It feels like the AI's kind of just seems like, hey, we don't believe the game's gonna succeed. I mean, the game's gonna succeed. It's just how long will multiplayer last. And Invasion being such a different game mode, they probably don't think many people are going to play it, even though this is the ground war shipment, and that sounds like a good idea. For when I played, it was slow. Now this is more a personal concern, but I'm talking about FPS counter for console. I just would like consoles to have an FPS counter. I like looking at my FPS counter, even if it hardly changes. I just like to know what my frames are at and everything. If I did get a big frame dip, I would just like to know how low I went and everything. And I know people make the argument it's just consoles, but is it really that hard to add one? They literally listed in the telemetry tab that there was an FPS counter, and I know it said like GPS cooling and stuff. Oh no, GPS temperature, obviously PC stuff, but like I don't think it would be that hard to add. I mean, it brings only benefits and no drawbacks, like unless you're like going to get what is it, major frame drops with it, but like I'm trying to think of a game that has it. I know Fortnite has it. I mean, I don't think you get major frame drops from that, but also it's Fortnite, so I don't know. Now, this is a lot of OGs want this. The prestige system. Bring it back, please. Like, resetting every season is annoying, and the grind feels like it takes too long. Because if you're resetting, I know you'll reset to a certain prestige, but you're resetting at what? Like level 1, anyways. Instead of in my mind, when Modern Warfare 2019 first started, I thought when you got to like level 100, prestige, like I think 3 is like level 100, that if you didn't get to the next prestige, you would only reset the level 100. But instead, you reset all the way back to level 1, but you're still prestige 3. It's just hard when you're also grinding for level 1000 each season. I mean, it just doesn't make the experience fun. And I want to say in prestige system, I don't feel. Or wait, what did I say? I'm sorry. I don't know if everyone should reset when prestige. Like in the old prestige system, when you would reset on back to level 1, which the new system's trying to do, but it's weird. I don't like the way it's doing it. And you would lock all your guns back up because that'd be problems for people who were grinding for camos. And this is what I'm thinking is the only way seasonal reset should apply is for anyone in Master Prestige because they would have nothing to grind after that point. Think about Black Ops 3. You would get the Master Prestige and you would go all the way up to level 1000. But once you're level 1000, Master Prestige, there's not much to go for except for like camos. And reset them to a certain rank and let them grind out again and I feel like to incentivize them to keep going for level 1000 for Prestige Masters is they should get rewards like at level 1000 each season you get a new camo. Here's another controversial topic, and here's my thoughts. Sliding is a big problem right now. Slide canceling is still there through the way you can like turn your settings a certain way and stuff. I did that. But it doesn't. help. I feel like I'm faster when I'm not slide canceling the new iteration of it, even though it's not supposed to be there. But sliding itself feels too stiff. I feel like that's also because you can't slide cancel, but like it just feels too stiff when you're like going to move around and stuff. Obviously, you shouldn't be able to change 15 different directions while you're sliding, but it just since they're trying to get rid of slide canceling, it just feels too stiff. And I think they should do the slide cancel from Cold War where you slid and hit the left trigger to scope in. But the only problem with that is that in Cold War you did not have the tack run, which in which when you would slide cancel, sometimes you can go back into a tactical sprint. But I feel like the way Cold War did it was a great idea, and I feel like they should just use that into their new approach because I liked even if I couldn't attack sprint, I liked being able to cancel out of the slide just so I wouldn't lose a gunfight or anything, and I wasn't using it for only means of moving around because most times when I would slide, I wouldn't slide much. But when I did, I was able to cancel it, which I liked. But I know there's problems with attack sprinting, and the whole thing about slide canceling, I'm pretty sure it literally destroyed people's controllers, like their hands were destroyed after using slide canceling. And here comes my thoughts on diving because at COD Next they were talking it up as a new way to move around, but right now it only feels like an evasive maneuver. When you dive, it takes a second for you to shoot once on the ground, and so if you dive towards someone, you're gonna lose a gunfight most likely unless you're just bad at the game. And if they're trying to make it as a new slide canceling, like diving's a new way to move around. You should be able to shoot right when you hit the ground. Like I forget if that is how it always worked, but if diving wants to be the new way to move, you should be able to shoot right when you hit the floor. Here's something I don't know how many people are concerned about it or anything, but it does help with camping. And I'm not about to be here and be like, oh, I encourage camping and stuff, but mounting. Maybe I am not saying what everyone agrees, but it seems like it will stay. So why not do the Vanguard version of mounting? Because Vanguard, you can strafe slash move across the surface instead of having to like reposition yourself when you might be shooting at an enemy. You might have gotten who knows why you're mounting. I'm not gonna say you're just camping there, but you had to mount. But you have to slightly move instead of being able to move over to shoot at other enemies, so like get a better angle and stuff. You get to remount, you get to unmount and then remount. You could barely just move over just an inch, but you would still have to remount, and it was just annoying. So why not just do the Vanguard version? I mean, I don't feel like that caused too many problems. I mean, I didn't play Vanguard much. Nobody played Vanguard much, but that was a great feature. I feel like Vanguard did right. Um, Instead of having a remount, you can just go across the surface. All right, I'm gonna go in my map's opinion from worst to best. The worst map is Museum, and here's why. It is set up well, but 6v6 is too slow. With that, I feel like it screws up the rotations. The map is so open, no one pushes through there. Sorry. The middle is so open, no one pushes through there, and most fights happen on the second floor. Plus, the rocks going up to the second floor have people camping there. Those rocks should just be removed or add a ladder there. But the problem was it's just a big problem because sure you can get some action on the two lanes, but most combat was happening up on the top floor. But if you weren't finding anyone up there, you would literally have to run around the entire map, avoiding the middle because if you went to the middle, you might most likely would get shot because the middle basically was no man's land. And I have seen people say it should be 10v10, which it should, but I feel like you could. I feel like since it's such a big map, I mean, it should be like a little more like 12v12 or something. I don't know. We'll see. It has to be 10v10 at least because it's just too slow. The next map is Greenberg Hotel. I don't hate it, but it is a bit big, but it still has loads of action and it rotates well. The one area in the back has too many campers. It was the area where it was by one of the spawns, and people would sit in there because there's two ways in, and the one requires you to go in their spawn. So it's kind of right by the bar section at one of the spawns, and you would end up having gunfights with people camping in the back. It's like a red room, like a red light and stuff, and they'd be camping back there while there's other people camping outside that doorway trying to shoot in. And I mean, it just made the game slow in that aspect, and it was annoying when you're trying to like push over in that direction, and you get killed by someone laying in the corner or someone hiding right behind the couch. The next map I say is it's definitely a good map is Mercado La Almas. I hope I said that right. It definitely is a fun map and it is sized perfectly. There is a couple problems with it, like the room you can camp in the middle lane. There's like there's like a little cutout room in the middle lane, and but also I can see that as a way to get the cover real quick. But also at the same time, people were camping in there, and it was annoying having to push down into the one spawn over by the RV with the wall where you can like mount on, where you can hang on, and it was just annoying. The biggest downfall though for the map is the spawns. For some reason, even in something like domination, you spawn on the sides rather by your flag. This causes problems like what flag do I go for in this situation? Also, even though you can fight fast, you don't know where the enemies will push. They may go down their lane of spawn or wrap around to the ends, especially if it is domination. It's just confusing, like knowing where they're gonna push and why you're even spawning on the sides anyways instead of just the two. It's like long. That's like a rectangle, but you're spawning on the side with the longer side instead of the shorter side. It's weird. Now, Farm 18 is definitely the best and fastest map in the game. In the beta, it was my favorite map for sure. It rotates well and is nice and fast. At first, I felt like the middle was like too small, but I like it now. However, since there's many corners and rooms, there has been games where enemies have camped in the middle, and it's just annoying when you're like running around inside the middle and people are just sitting there camping. Especially when they can hear you running around the entire thing and they're just sitting in there. Also, I'm not a huge fan of the buildings with second floors. Like the one lane with the bus, people can easily sit up in that room and pick off people. Pick off the people running by, and they have a good angle into both spawns of the map. And the one building in the spawn area, I don't know how to describe it. It's just which one I'm talking about. It's just annoying when you push out of the middle and get shot at, or you're coming out of one of the lanes and you're getting shot at by people just sitting up on that kind of roof kind of area. However, I'm okay with it since it is in the spawn, specifically that building, and the medical area also has that problem with people sitting on the roof. But I don't, even though it's kind of it's an issue, I don't feel like it's too big of an issue for like rushers because we're most likely hitting through the middle or like going crazy through the lanes. Here's something many people might not even know exists, and that is a feature that Vanguard added, which was amazing, and that was combat pacing. Like, please bring it back. It was the best thing Vanguard ever did. I've said that multiple times. You got to choose how fast paced you wanted your game, and the player has more control. So, and that can help on like a map about like museum because then you can have like 10v10 or whatever, however many players Blitz would offer, which was the highest amount of players, and it would cause more people to fight and to make museum faster pace and rotate better. And I feel like think about how hectic Farm 18 can be. I mean, I know some people don't like hecticness, like a lot of people don't like shipment, but I enjoy like fast pace and just like literally dying like immediately when you just don't even know what's going on. I feel like it's funny and fun. And it's just definitely a feature we need back. Now here's a feature they kind of addressed. They did not address map voting, but they did address disbanding lobbies. Disbanding lobbies has upset a lot of people. However, they said they are trying to increase the chances of lobbies not disbanding, which is great. Even though people may say that, why not just like do it entirely? It is definitely a good step in the right direction. And I believe Modern Warzone said that disbanding lobbies is a big part of skill-based matchmaking, which makes sense. Because instead of the lobbies disbanding, you're going to stay around those people. And I guess that like would hurt skill-based matchmaking in a way because instead of you being thrown into harder lobbies, let's just say you completely smoke that lobby. Instead of being thrown in harder lobbies, you're actually playing with those people again. And sure, you may be winning more, but over time, those people will adjust to how you're playing, and maybe you'll lose a game actually for once. And what is it? Map voting on the side is a feature that was loved but was randomly removed. What was the last game that map voting? Was that Black Ops 4? I don't know. I hardly played Black Ops 4, but Might do a video on it. I don't know, but I can see both sides of the stories. One or well, one is we don't want to play certain maps. I mean, I'm trying to think of a map that I absolutely. Oh, Aftermath from like Black Ops 2. I hated that map. I did not want to play that map ever. So I would rather pick like what Standoff. I mean, I know these are popular maps: Standoff, Nuketown, Rush. But I would rather pick those maps over Aftermath because I didn't like Aftermath. But also, you gotta think from the other side is from a developer's standpoint on the map is how would you feel if a map you worked hard on just wasn't played much? Like you put so much effort in this map and it just hardly got played, which yeah, that's kind of sucks. So we kind of have to see it from a developer standpoint, but hopefully map voting just gets addressed by Infinity Ward. And I'm just saying, hopefully all the maps are good that we wouldn't mind playing anyone we are thrown into, so map voting doesn't like matter anymore. But in reality, there's always gonna be a map we don't like, and there's always gonna be a better map, and there's gonna be okay maps, and you understand. If you've been playing COD forever and you understood like map voting, you would understand like what I'm talking about. But yeah, I just those are all my thoughts on the beta. Infinity Ward, if you are watching this video, and if you somehow made it to the end, because this is 30 minutes, jeez. But if you watch this video, then please consider this feedback. Um, I feel like this would help make Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 a top 5 Call of Duty. I know people would say, oh, those top 5 Call of Duties are only there because of nostalgia, but they're not only there for nostalgia. They're there for other reasons as how well the games were. Um, so hopefully, make it a top 5 COD, please. But if anyone else watching that's not the devs that has made it this far into the video, thank you very much. I've worked really hard on this video. I mean, I know I'm just talking right now, but the amount of editing I'm going to put into this video is going to be, it might not seem like a lot, but to me, it's going to be a lot. But yeah, the videos are now going to get much more higher quality since now I have an editing software. I know I didn't have one at first. I mean, why didn't I? But I now have one, so that's great. Thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing if you're new, and yes, I'll have a video out tomorrow. I'm sorry I have one out the next couple of days. I don't know what I'm going to do, though, but I'll figure it out as I go. So, yeah, see ya.